I wasn't supposed to be there. James and I had this unspoken rule, something we never really talked about but both just understood. No late-night Waffle House runs alone, not after midnight, especially not without telling the other. He worked nights as a security guard and had this sixth sense for weird patterns, how places like that at odd hours drew the wrong kind of attention. But he was out of town for work, and I hadn't eaten a real meal all day. My stomach was tying itself in knots, and I figured, just a quick bite, in and out. No big deal. It was 11:37 when I pulled into the Waffle House on the edge of Mon County. The lot was mostly empty, just two SUVs and a dented sedan parked beneath flickering yellow floodlights that gave the building a strange, almost underwater glow. The neon open sign buzzed faintly in the cold night air, like it was struggling to stay awake. Inside, it was colder than I expected. The kind of cold that didn't feel like bad insulation. It felt intentional. Like the air conditioning was left on high just to remind you how alone you were. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed and blinked in uneven pulses, casting everything in a pale, ghostly hue. Most of the booths were unoccupied, but the shadows made it feel like people might still be sitting in them. Just out of sight. Just barely not there. I slid onto a stool at the far end of the counter, as far from the front door as I could manage. The waitress looked worn down, maybe early 40s, with deep lines under her eyes and shoulders that slumped like someone carrying too many invisible weights. She didn't greet me, just nodded. "Hash browns," I said. "Scattered, smothered, covered, and 2 eggs, over easy." She wrote it down without looking up and moved toward the kitchen. I pulled out my phone, texting a quick message to my friend. "Hey, just grabbing food, all good, letting you know." As I hit send, I glanced up and saw them. 3 men, sitting together in the corner booth, each one wearing a black hoodie, the hoods pulled up just enough to cast shadows over their eyes. They weren't eating. They weren't even talking. They were just sitting there, back straight, hands clasped in front of them on the table, heads tilted slightly forward, like mannequins posed for some strange exhibit. Something about them felt off. Not just weird, but wrong. Like they were pretending to be normal people and just barely missing the mark. Even their breathing seemed to match the flickering rhythm of the lights above them. I looked down again quickly, pretending to scroll. My heart had already started to speed up. When I looked up again, they were still watching me. Still. Not moving. Not blinking. Just watching. Behind the counter, the coffee pot steamed steadily. The glass was cloudy, and the steam rising from the spout curled in strange ways, like smoke forming words I couldn't quite read. I texted James, even though I knew he wouldn't see it. "Just grabbing food real quick, be home late." No response. He was probably mid-flight, out of reach. I turned back to my phone again, trying to force my attention onto literally anything else. I rearranged my napkin, shifted my legs, counted the number of tiles behind the counter, but the pressure from those men in the booth felt like a physical thing, like invisible hands pressing down on my shoulders, forcing me to stay still. Before the food even arrived, I stood up and paid. My appetite was gone. As I grabbed my coat, I heard one of them speak. Barely a whisper. So soft I might have imagined it. "She doesn't wait long." My spine stiffened. I froze in place, then forced myself to move. The door felt heavier than it should have, as if the whole building was trying to hold on to me. When I stepped outside, it felt like stepping underwater. The air was thick. The lot was nearly dark except for the faint orange circle of a street lamp flickering by the dumpsters. And then I saw him. A man in a long, dark coat. He stood unnaturally still. His face was pale, hair slicked down and glossy, and his height. He was too tall. Uncomfortably so, like his proportions weren't made for this world. He hadn't been there before. I blinked once. Still there. My instincts screamed, "Don't look too long, just get to the car now." I walked quickly, gripping my keys like a weapon, avoiding eye contact. Behind me, I heard the front door creak open, One of the men from the booth stepped outside. I didn't look, just kept walking. His footsteps tapped behind me, measured and deliberate. He didn't try to catch up, just followed. Right as I reached my car door, I heard him again, this time clearly. No louder than a breath. Too soon. My stomach turned to ice. I yanked the door open, threw myself inside, and locked it in one motion. My hand shook as I jammed the key into the ignition. I looked back once, just once, and saw all three of them now standing beneath the Waffle House sign in a perfectly straight line. Still, arms at their sides, faces blank. The sign flickered behind them. No blinking, no shifting, just standing there. I pulled out slowly, refusing to speed away. Something told me that running would make things worse. I didn't let myself breathe until I was 3 exits down the highway, almost home. I didn't tell James. It felt ridiculous, paranormal even. There was no proof, no video, no photos, no second witness, just a weird story that sounded like a nightmare. So I lied, told him I skipped dinner, said I felt a little sick and just went to bed early. He texted back a row of concerned emojis. I replied with a heart and turned my phone face down. But that night I dreamed. I was back in the Waffle House booth. Only this time the lights were dimmer, slower somehow, like everything was underwater again. The buzzing from the fluorescents throbbed like a heartbeat in my ears. I sat across from them, those 3 men, hoodies up, their faces blurred like smudged glass. The waitress came by and placed a cup of coffee on the table. She never let go of it, just stood there holding it, and I sat frozen in place, unable to speak, unable to leave. Then someone stood behind me. I didn't hear them approach, I just felt it. A shift in the air, a weight pressing down on the back of my neck. My breath caught as something cold brushed against my skin. Hair, maybe. Too soft. Too cold. Then a whisper, almost too quiet to register. She came back. The voice was female, young, flat and distant, like it traveled through a tunnel of sleep and memory. Before I could turn around, the men in hoodies leaned in toward me. All at once, I couldn't breathe. The smell hit first. Coffee gone sour, something metallic, and gutter water. Wet, dirty, stagnant. My mouth filled with it, like I'd swallowed the whole damn diner. I jolted awake, coughing, gagging. The room was quiet. Morning light pushed through the curtains in soft streaks, but it didn't feel like morning. I felt hollow, as if the dream had scooped something out of me and didn't bother putting it back. I couldn't do normal. Not that day. I avoided the bathroom mirror entirely. I didn't want to see my own face. Didn't want to find anything else staring back. I checked the front door lock 3 times, then the windows, then the sliding back door. All fine, nothing out of place. But every time I closed my eyes, I tasted that place again. Bitter coffee, cold grease, that metallic rot, and gutter water. Wet, dirty, stagnant. My mouth filled with it like I'd swallowed the whole damn diner. I jolted awake, coughing, gagging. The room was quiet. Morning light pushed through the curtains in soft streaks, but it didn't feel like morning. I felt hollow, as if the dream had scooped something out of me and didn't bother putting it back. I couldn't do normal. Not that day. I avoided the bathroom mirror entirely. I didn't want to see my own face, didn't want to find anything else staring back. I checked the front door lock 3 times, then the windows, then the sliding back door. All fine. Nothing out of place. But every time I closed my eyes, I tasted that place again. Bitter coffee, cold grease, that metallic rot. I tried to get answers. Pulled up Google, ran searches. Waffle House, Mon County, late night. Waffle House incident. Missing person Waffle House. Break-in, shooting, anything. Nothing. The store had no news coverage, no police reports, no Reddit threads, no spooky blog posts. Nothing. It was just a location on the map. A dot with 5 yellow stars and normal reviews. So I called. A woman picked up, groggy and clearly annoyed. "Waffle House, Mon." I swallowed. "Hi, just wondering, do you have a night shift? Like, overnight?" There was a pause. A chair scraped in the background. "Lady, we close at 1. Been that way since COVID. Night crews out by 2 at the latest, always." Click. That's when the weight settled in my stomach like a brick. I wasn't just imagining things. I wasn't there at a normal time. The doors shouldn't have even been open. I stopped calling it a coincidence. The days passed like fog. I started seeing my therapist more often. At first, I told myself I was being irrational, that it had just been stress. James was out of town. I hadn't eaten properly. I'd been pulling long hours trying to finish a project. Maybe my mind had cracked a little. But the synchronized way they leaned in, the way the whisper felt like it knew me, recognized me, it wasn't stress. It was something else. Eventually, I talked to someone outside the clinical bubble, a woman named Mara who ran a local history blog, more folklore than facts, but she took hauntings seriously, documented old myths, urban legends, places people avoided. She agreed to meet at a diner halfway between our neighborhoods, a safe, brightly lit place. I brought her photos, my notes, printouts of the Waffle House's address. She studied them quietly over lukewarm coffee. "That strip of highway," she said finally, tapping the edge of the map. "It's old. Before this part of the county was developed, there was a fire." I frowned. "A fire?" "Trailer home. Early 70s. Whole family died. Parents, 2 kids. House caught in the middle of the night. One daughter got out. Locals said she came back later. Years later." "To live?" I asked, almost afraid to know. Mara shook her head. "To wait." "For what?" She looked at me. Her eyes were dark and still. "For someone. No one's sure who." My chest tightened. What does this have to do with the Waffle House? It wasn't there then. The trailer was where that parking lot is now, near the embankment by the hardware store. People said that stretch of land was marked somehow. They started seeing things, hearing voices. Not everyone, just people who showed up late, alone. I stared at her. "They said the girl would be there sometimes," Mara continued. "By the old diner that used to sit there before the Waffle House. People claimed she'd stand outside just past midnight waiting. And those who saw her, well, they didn't see her directly. They saw reflections of her, illusions. People standing too still, whispering things they shouldn't know." I didn't say anything at first. Then, quietly, "What did they whisper?" She hesitated. "That you came back." A chill crawled up my back. Afterward, I went home and searched online for hours, digging deep. Not Google's first few pages, but local archives, genealogy sites, grave listings. Finally, I found her. Iris Harrow. Died 1974. Death listed as intentional self-immolation. No obituary, just a line in a county register. No surviving family. One photo. A grainy black and white image of a 9-year-old girl standing in front of a burnt-out trailer, wearing a simple dress. The pattern on it stuck in my mind. It looked too familiar. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. The dreams returned every time I closed my eyes. I was always back in the booth. The lights dimmer than they should be. The sound of buzzing more like humming now. The waitress never moved. The 3 hooded men never blinked. And behind me, always the whisper. She came back. I stopped going out after dark. I didn't answer texts past 9 p.m. I even stopped checking emails late. It's been 2 months now. James is home. I told him I was fine, just run down. Started eating better. Took melatonin. He wrapped his arms around me and said, "Whatever helps you sleep." But I'm not sleeping. Some nights, I drive past that Waffle House, just to see. I don't know why. Habit, maybe. Or something more like obsession. The lights are always on, the windows always empty. But the lot always feels wrong. Sometimes under the flickering sign, I swear I see 3 shapes, still as statues. Once I stopped long enough to take a photo through my windshield, but the picture came out blurry. Nothing there but light streaks and shadows. Still, I felt them. I still feel the whisper waiting. It's not just in my head, it's something real, something unfinished. I won't go back in, not even with James. When he asks, I just smile and say, "Not hungry." He nods and offers to bring me pancakes in the morning. He doesn't press, but I still have the dream. Tonight I'll lie in bed knowing it'll come. The booth, the humming lights, the 3 figures staring across from me, the girl behind me leaning close, her breath ice cold, her voice threading through my skin like a splinter. She came back. Some places carry echoes that don't belong to you. Memories soaked into concrete and walls and time. Pain that never got spoken aloud. Promises never fulfilled. And if you return, especially alone, those echoes notice. If you feel something watching you, believe it. If you hear a whisper with no one around, listen. And whatever you do, don't go back. I didn't want to go. Church had run late and the summer sun outside was already brutal, blinding and hot in that way that made the inside of the car feel like a furnace. All I wanted was to be home, change out of my stiff button-up, and crash on the couch. But Mom had other plans. "Good behavior means pancakes," she said with a smile, nudging the twins in the back seat. They squealed with excitement, already arguing about toppings. I stared out the window, arms folded, pretending I wasn't 12 seconds from groaning out loud. I was 13, too old for sticky bribes, and way too annoyed for Sunday small talk. We pulled into the Waffle House just past noon. The place was packed. Through the glass, I could already hear the clatter of plates and the hiss of the griddle. A family with matching shirts waited outside, kids bouncing like they'd never seen syrup before. Inside, it was chaos in chrome and vinyl. Servers shouted orders over the noise. Soda fountains hissed, bacon sizzled, and syrup pooled on tabletops under the harsh glare of overhead lights. Mom led us to a booth near the front window. The vinyl seats were warm from the sun. My sister slid in, still giddy, yelling about pancakes with strawberries or chocolate chips. I sat at the edge of the booth, earbuds in, flicking through my flip phone, pretending to text someone I didn't have. That's when I saw him. Behind the counter, a man worked the line. Tall, maybe early 20s, with bleached blonde hair slicked back and skin like overdone toast. He looked like he belonged in a magazine ad, but not the good kind. Something glossy and greasy, like a fake smile stretched too wide. He didn't look right at me, not exactly, but I could feel his eyes land near me, slide past me, return again. I kept my gaze fixed on the ceiling tiles, counting how many were stained. My fingers clenched around my phone. Then he moved, wiped his hands, stepped out from behind the counter, and walked straight toward our booth. I froze. Mom was mid-pour with the syrup. The twins were busy stabbing sausages. He leaned over like he was about to clear plates, but instead he shoved something into my hand under the table. I glanced down. Game tokens, little plastic discs the size of quarters, dull gold with cartoonish dollar signs. They didn't belong. This wasn't the kind of place with an arcade. "We don't do games here," I said quietly. He smiled. Not kindly. His grin looked like it belonged to something hungrier. "Not the kind you think," he said. I felt my stomach flip. "What do you mean?" He lowered his voice. "Trucks out back. If you want to win something real." Before I could react, he was already turning away, slipping behind the counter like nothing happened, like he hadn't just made my skin crawl. I sat there, heart racing, tokens clenched in my fist. "You okay?" Mom asked, finally noticing. I nodded too fast, then dropped the tokens into my hoodie pocket. "Some kid gave me these," I said, trying to keep my voice light. She smiled, distracted. That was nice. I laughed a little, fake and thin. When we got back to the car, I slid the tokens into the glove box when no one was looking. Why me? I wasn't interesting. I hadn't even made eye contact. I was just a bored kid in a pancake place. But something in the way he looked at me, like he knew something, like he saw something. Later, Mom asked again about the tokens. I played dumb, shrugged, said I didn't remember, but I did. I remembered every second. His voice, that smirk, and those words, trucks out back. That night, I pulled out my ancient desktop. It took 5 minutes to boot up. I logged into AM just in case. Maybe he'd found me. I don't know why I wanted that, or why I didn't throw the tokens away. Instead, I kept them. I put them in my sock drawer, because they scared me. Around midnight, I heard the ping. M. No name popped up. No icon. Just a message. You looked right at me. That means you're curious. I stared at it, my breath shallow. I typed, "Who is this?" No reply. I blocked the user, shut down the computer, and tried to forget about it. But I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, wide-eyed, with the covers up to my chin. I could feel the tokens under my pillow. I don't know why I put them there, but they felt heavy, like they were pressing down on me, like they were waiting. The next morning I tried to act normal. Ate breakfast, brushed my teeth, walked to school. Halfway there my phone died. At school I logged onto a loaner laptop. I didn't even get to the homepage before the principal's voice came over the intercom. "Can you come to the office, please?" I froze. My skin went cold. The secretary didn't make eye contact as she waved me in. The principal sat behind his desk, frowning. "Your mom called," he said. "She mentioned something strange happened yesterday." My heart thudded. "What do you mean?" She said, "Someone gave you something odd. Out front. She thought we should inform the authorities." "The police?" I said too fast. He nodded. "We're looking into it. You're not in trouble, but we want to be safe." I wanted to cry, not because I was scared of being in trouble, but because I thought, maybe someone was already coming for me. I expected more questions, more urgency, maybe a follow-up call from school, or a knock on the door from a detective. But nothing came. The principal told me I'd done the right thing by speaking up, said to let the grown-ups handle it. And then, like everything else, it faded. The days moved forward. Breakfast, bus stop, math class, soccer practice, until that afternoon. I was 13, almost 14. The school bus dropped me off just past 4, and I was halfway up the block when I saw it. The truck, parked right across the street from our apartment complex. It wasn't just similar, it was the truck. Rust spots scattered along the bumper, cracked windshield, held together by strips of sun-warped tape. A faded bumper sticker curled on one edge. Waffle House family, exactly like he'd said. Trucks out back, if you want to win something real. My body locked up. My backpack slipped off one shoulder, but I didn't move. Just stared. The air felt thinner. I texted Mom with shaky fingers. "He's here. That truck. The one I told you about." She was outside within seconds, eyes wide, trying to stay calm but visibly rattled. We called the police. They came, asked questions, walked around the truck. But by the time they showed up, he was gone. Not a single footprint in the dirt, no note, no keys, no sign he'd ever been there, just that vehicle. And one detail no one could explain. A single game token. Wedged between the seat and the dash, almost like it had been placed there for me to find. I snapped a photo, sent it to the detective from before. He glanced at the image, gave a kind of tired sigh. Then he looked at me, gentle but distant, detached. He said he'd call the Waffle House again, and he did. The manager told him the guy was let go weeks earlier. Boundary issues, they said. Wouldn't give a full name. Said they didn't have solid records, no address, no follow-up, no charges. They brushed it off, a misunderstanding. The detective patted my shoulder like I'd had a spooky dream. Kids have wild imaginations sometimes. He slid the token into a plastic bag. called it evidence. That was the last I saw of him. I went home that day feeling smaller than ever. I wasn't just a kid, I was invisible. The world had shrugged, but I hadn't imagined any of it. His eyes, his whisper, that truck parked outside our home like a promise. And the token? It lived in my backpack for weeks, a quiet weight that made my stomach clench every time I picked it up. I didn't tell anyone. Not even Mom. Time passed. I started freshman year, soccer season, new teachers. I tried to let it fade. Eventually, I buried the token in a drawer with old comics and loose change. But every time I opened that drawer, even for something dumb like a pen, I saw it. And I remembered his smile. Then he texted again. Not on AIM. This time it came through as a regular text from a burner number. No name, just a message. Curiosity bites. I nearly dropped my phone. I stared at the screen, heart thudding. Fingers shaking, I typed back. Who are you? Nothing. Just like before. I told Mom I'd changed my number. Said I was tired of weird spam and didn't want to deal with creepy tech stuff anymore. She didn't ask questions, just nodded. At night, though, I played it all over in my head. The diner. The tokens. The way the truck sat silently across the street like it had always belonged there. Sometimes I imagined him, standing outside in some long coat that moved even when there was no wind, slipping tokens into people's cars, waiting for someone to look. It felt like a game, but not a fun one. Like he was daring people to get close. Like he wanted to see who'd bite. I started to think maybe it wasn't about me. Maybe it was about power. About how easily he could shake someone's reality with a whisper and a plastic coin. He didn't need to chase anyone, just plant the seed. He picked kids, maybe because we're easy to overlook, easy to manipulate, easy to scare. Senior year came. I was taller, sharper. I knew how to keep passwords locked down, knew not to answer numbers I didn't recognize. I never went near that Waffle House again, but I didn't throw the tokens away either. I kept them in a metal box in my closet, only opened it once in a while, just enough to remind myself I got away. When I left for college, I packed the tokens in a padded envelope. No return address, no note except one word on the inside flap. Stop. I mailed it to the police station in town. I never saw the truck again, never got another text, never saw his face, but I still remember his grin. Not because it was terrifying, but because it made me feel seen in a way that was all wrong. He didn't need to scream or chase me, he just needed to whisper. Sometimes the scariest people are the ones who blend in, the ones who find the cracks between ordinary moments and slide through them. And sometimes the scariest gifts are the smallest ones. If a stranger ever hands you something strange and says it's a game, don't play. It's not curiosity, it's a trap. I had just finished my last college exam, the kind that leaves your brain humming and hands a little shaky. My body drove without thinking, muscles in autopilot, while my head was still looping through calculus formulas. It was close to midnight, 11:45 p.m., when I took an exit off the interstate. I couldn't even tell you what state I was in. The town didn't have a name I saw, just a blur of faded buildings, leaning trees, and flickering streetlights that barely bothered staying lit. It felt like a place people forgot existed. My phone buzzed once, 2% battery, then went black. No signal, no GPS, no lifeline. I spotted a glowing yellow sign 2 exits down. Waffle House, open late, warm, coffee. It was enough. The parking lot was almost empty except for a black sedan tucked into a corner. Dusty, no license plates. I paused, chest tightening for half a second. Weird, sure, but not unheard of on the road this late. I told myself that. Inside, the place looked like a movie scene left on pause. Cold fluorescent lights hummed above cracked linoleum. A fan rattled somewhere overhead. The air smelled like fried bacon and old grease. The only waitress in sight looked like she hadn't slept in days. Mid-40s, dark circles under red eyes, but she gave me a tired smile as I ordered coffee to go. "Where you headed, sugar?" she asked, voice soft and a little raspy, like an old record. "Long haul home," I replied, then added, "State line's another 50. A lie. I had no idea where I was. She nodded, eyes searching mine. "Drive safe, okay?" She handed me the coffee with both hands, firm like she was passing off something more than a drink, something that mattered. I thanked her and left, the warmth of the diner fading behind me as I stepped back into the cold dark. I was barely 5 minutes down the highway when I caught a shape in my rearview mirror. That black sedan. No headlights. Just drifting behind me like it belonged there. My breath hitched. Probably just another night driver, I told myself, gripping the wheel tighter. Maybe my brain was just fried from exams and caffeine. I changed lanes. So did the sedan. I sped up, it kept pace. I tapped my brakes, no reaction. The car didn't swerve, didn't flash brights, just followed. My heart started to race. Something about the way it stayed just far enough back to not be obvious, but close enough to be noticed. It felt intentional. I took the next exit and pulled into a grocery store parking lot. I expected the sedan to pass me. It didn't. It followed. Parked 5 spots away. 3 doors opened. 3 men got out slowly. Not running. Just stepping. One wore a faded work jacket. Another was tall and thin, with a slouch that didn't match his size. The third had a loose shirt, collar open like he just rolled out of bed. They didn't speak, didn't move closer, just stood there, watching. Every nerve in my body screamed run, but my brain, tired and shaky from lack of sleep, hesitated. That second of doubt nearly cost me. But I snapped back, slipped into the driver's seat and floored it, tires screeching out of the lot. That's when I saw them, flashing red and blue lights up ahead. Relief flooded me. I flicked on my signal and pulled over. A sheriff's cruiser was idling near the on-ramp. I rolled down my window and turned on my hazards. The officer stepped out, weathered uniform, no name tag. His face looked calm, friendly even. No rush, no alarm. I took a breath, then blurted, "That black sedan, those guys, they've been following me since the diner." He looked past me toward the road and gave a slow nod. "Get in," he said. "I'll take you a few miles down." I hesitated, then opened my door. My legs shook as I got in beside him. He didn't ask any questions, just started driving. I glanced over as he reached into the door pocket and pulled out a bundle of papers. No badge, no ID, just old paperwork, rolled tight in a rubber band. Behind us, the sedan idled at the edge of the lot for a long, tense moment. Then it was gone. The drive was quiet. 10 miles of silence. Just the sound of tires on asphalt and the occasional flick of the blinker. No radio, no small talk. I watched the man's profile as we drove. Strong jaw, eyes steady on the road. He didn't smile, didn't blink much, but somehow I felt calm, safer than I had in hours. He pulled into a rest stop and parked near one of the shelters. Then he got out, walked around to my side and tapped on the window. I rolled it down. "You're safe now," he said. His voice was low but warm, like he believed it. "But next time, don't stop in towns where no one knows your name." Then he smiled, a quiet, practiced smile, and walked back to his cruiser. I sat there frozen, watching the red of his taillights fade down the road like a heartbeat slipping into darkness. Eventually, I started my engine and drove the rest of the way home. The sky was turning pink when I pulled into my driveway. The sunrise spilled across the porch and my room felt alien in the morning light. I didn't sleep. Instead, I searched online, county police logs, sheriff's departments, maps of the interstate, the rest stop. Nothing. No mention of a deputy in that area, no cruiser number, no matching jurisdiction, just silence. All I had was the memory of that uniformed man, and the hollow feeling that whoever he was, He showed up when I needed him most, and vanished just as fast. I collapsed into bed as soon as I got home, but sleep didn't come. My body was done, but my mind wouldn't stop spinning, stuck somewhere between exhaustion and hyper-alert. I stared at the ceiling, listening to every creak in the walls like it might mean something. A soft knock tapped at my door. Jess, my roommate. "You okay?" she asked gently, voice muffled through the wood. "Yeah," I said too quickly. She paused for a second, then walked away, but I knew she didn't believe me. Neither did I. Monday came, as it always does, with cruel daylight that made everything feel less terrifying and more distant, like it had happened to someone else. I got dressed, ate toast in the cafeteria. I was trying to feel normal, trying to feel safe, but something stayed stuck in me, like a stranger's glove left in my jacket pocket. Wrong, unfamiliar. At breakfast, I told an older friend, Sam, a grad student who'd always had this no-bullshit calm about her. I kept my voice low, not sure what I expected. She leaned in, brow furrowed. "Did you get a badge number?" I shook my head. "A name?" "No." "Then how do you know he was even a cop?" she asked. I didn't know what to say. "He said something. He told me not to stop in towns where no one knows my name." Sam blinked. "That's a weird thing to say." I nodded, feeling the weight of it settle again. She frowned but didn't press more. Still, her concern lingered in the space between us. I tried to shake the whole thing off, chalk it up to sleep deprivation, maybe some kind of hallucination brought on by stress. But every time I shut my eyes, I saw that sedan in the mirror, the men getting out, the space between us narrowing. Monday night during class, I couldn't focus. My eyes kept drifting to the door. My phone stayed gripped in my hand, thumb hovering over the screen. What if they followed me to campus? What if they already knew where I lived? I started taking the security shuttle even during the day, kept my curtains shut, locked my bedroom door even when Jess was home. Tuesday afternoon, I was walking past the campus mailboxes when I saw a sheriff's cruiser parked by the curb. No one inside. My chest clenched tight. I stopped cold, but then I remembered. Our town's sheriff's department was over 40 miles away. This was probably just routine, right? Just someone passing through. I exhaled slowly, still not convinced. Wednesday morning, I found something under my door. A card, plain white, folded, crisp corners, no handwriting, just one word printed in blue ink, all caps, safe. I stopped breathing for a second. My hands were suddenly cold. I searched the hall, checked my pockets for prints or folds. Nothing. The card looked untouched, like it had been placed there with care. Or gloves. That night I didn't sleep. I combed through sheriff's websites, LinkedIn pages, forums, even old news articles. No badge matched the man I met. No officer fit the look. No department had a cruiser unaccounted for that night. It was like he never existed. Friday afternoon, I sat by the tall windows in the library, gripping the edge of the table. The light outside felt too bright, too fragile. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You drove past Woods last night. Did you feel eyes on you?" I dropped the phone. My heartbeat went erratic. No name, no ID. Just that sentence. I wanted to scream. Instead, I laughed, shaky and hollow. A bad joke. A prank. It had to be. I bought coffee at the student union, ate dinner near the freeway but took it to go and didn't linger. Every time I passed a window, I caught myself looking for shadows behind the glass, faces, movements, something. Saturday morning, Jess invited me to brunch with her cousins. I went. For the first time in days, I felt okay. The sun was warm. We laughed over waffles and bad coffee. I almost believed everything would be fine. That night, I drove home late again. This time, I avoided the interstate on purpose. No Waffle houses, no empty lots, just side roads and sleepy neighborhoods. I kept checking the mirror, Just taillights, just headlights, nothing else. Halfway home, I nodded off at a red light. When I opened my eyes, I was on the edge of suburbia. No sedan behind me, no one watching. I let myself believe it was over. Then Sunday morning came. My phone buzzed again at 3:17 a.m. Another message, 2 words. Still watching. My fingers trembled. My chest tightened. Jess saw me shaking as I stared at the screen. "What is it?" she asked. I showed her. She looked at me, really looked, and grabbed my hand. "This isn't normal," she said, voice firm. "We're going to campus security. Now." We drove across campus in silence. The sun hadn't even come up yet. Everything looked wrong in the early light, like a set before actors arrive. Officer Green met us in the security office. Real badge, real desk, real person. He listened carefully while I told him everything. Jess stayed close, nodding, filling in the blanks when I faltered. He typed notes, took screenshots of the texts, asked about the car, the men, the fake deputy. "Did the sedan have any visible damage? Rust? Stickers?" "No plates," I said. "Dusty black, no headlights." 3 guys stepped out, one tall, one in a jacket, one with his collar loose. That's all I saw. Green nodded slowly, then asked, "Do you feel safe right now?" I paused. "No," I whispered. "Every shadow looks like someone's waiting. I'm scared to even stop at a red light." He leaned back, fingers steepled. "Keep a written record. We'll check campus cameras. These roads pass through different jurisdictions. It might take time, but we'll follow it." I nodded. For the first time, I felt like someone was actually taking this seriously. That night, Jess rode with me again. She sat beside me, scrolling through campus patrol routes and safety tips on her phone. We even joked about installing dash cams and laser tripwires, but it wasn't really a joke. Not anymore. We parked near the student center. No strange cars, no lights following us. But as we walked toward the dorm, we noticed something off. Footprints. Fresh, distinct, pressed into the dew-covered grass. Leading from the road, up the sidewalk, right to our door. And then, nothing. No prints turning away. No leaves disturbed. Just the trail ending at our threshold. Jess froze. "Those weren't there earlier." We called Green. He arrived fast, flashlight out, sweeping the grass like he'd done it 100 times. He stopped by the edge of the sidewalk, crouched down, studied one of the prints. His face changed, tightened. "This print," he said, "matches the sole pattern of a standard sheriff's cruiser tire." Jess and I stared at him, the silence thick between us. The next day, Green started pulling logs. That cruiser never passed by again. And when Officer Green checked the county logs, he confirmed it. No patrol car matching my description had been dispatched that night. Not in that area. Not anywhere close. That was it. The moment everything clicked into place. There was no real sheriff. Someone had been playing both sides, offering comfort in the middle of nowhere, then reappearing as a shadow at my door. The warm voice on the highway, the fake safety, the unmarked sedan. It wasn't a rescue. It was part of something else. Something calculated. After that, I stopped driving alone at night. I couldn't. Every stretch of road felt like it might fold into something dangerous. I moved off campus to a shared apartment with 3 roommates and exterior cameras. I changed my phone number, deleted the old one entirely. I blocked unknown messages, disabled location services. I even stopped posting online. Still, the thought of that black sedan, the men who stepped out without speaking, stays lodged in the back of my mind like a shard of glass. The sheriff's voice haunts me sometimes. That soft, deliberate warning. Don't stop in towns where no one knows your name. Back then, I didn't understand it, but now I do. On long highways and in places where no one recognizes your face, anonymity can turn into vulnerability. When no one knows you, no one's watching out for you. And that gives strangers room to become anything they want. Savior, predator, both. Sometimes help doesn't come from kindness. Sometimes it comes from surveillance. And not every calm voice is safe. Not every uniform is real. Not every light in the dark means rescue. So here's what I know now. Always ask for the badge number. Always get a name. Always tell someone where you're going. Because safety doesn't live in assumptions. It lives in verification. And because you never really know who's watching, always keep the light on yourself. I was 7 the first time I saw him. We were driving to my aunt's house in Birmingham and Mom decided to stop for coffee. Just a quick break. I remember the sky was pale and overcast, the kind of gray that makes everything feel tired. We pulled off the highway into a Waffle House, one of those cookie-cutter ones with the bright yellow sign glowing through the mist. Inside, everything looked the same as every other Waffle House I'd been in. Buzzing fluorescent lights, checkered floors, and that constant smell of burnt coffee and syrup. I sat in a booth, swinging my legs, my flip-flops tapping the sticky vinyl seat. Mom was buried in her paperback novel, flipping pages like the world outside didn't exist. Every now and then she tossed me crayons across the table without looking up. I didn't ask for them. The restaurant was quiet. The hum of the kitchen filled the space between clinks of forks and half-hearted conversations. My sisters were arguing about syrup, strawberry versus blueberry, and I just stared at the salt shaker, bored. Then he walked in. A man in a waffle costume. He shouldn't have been there. I'd never heard of a Waffle House mascot, but there he was. Big round body, cardboard arms, painted on cartoon eyes, and a wide, crooked grin, like someone had forced it too far. He wobbled as he walked, each step awkward and loud on the tile floor. He waved at me. I froze. He shuffled over and leaned down until his fake face was just inches from mine. Behind the mesh where his real eyes should have been, I saw darkness. Nothing moved, nothing blinked. The mouth of the costume wasn't cloth or foam. It looked like stiff plastic, stretched tight, the edges cracked. And then, in a voice low and raspy, muffled like it had to crawl through layers to reach me, he whispered, "Want to see the secret kitchen?" My heart jumped so hard I felt it in my throat. I turned to Mom. Still reading. My sisters were giggling about pancakes. No one noticed him but me. He held out a gloved hand. I didn't speak. I just stood. My body moved on its own. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe fear. Maybe some part of me couldn't believe it was real. He led me behind the dining area, past the griddles sizzling with grease, where the cooks didn't even glance at us. The air smelled like oil and mop water. We passed the industrial freezers, then stopped at a narrow door wedged into the wall, one I hadn't noticed before. No handle, no sign. The man tapped on it 3 times. Hollow echoes answered. The door creaked open. Inside was a hallway, not a normal one. The air felt colder, heavier. The lights above flickered, sickly yellow tubes sputtering like they were dying. Some were out entirely. Concrete walls stretched ahead, stained and wet in places. It smelled sharp, bleach, metal, something sour. "Come on," he said, voice even rougher now, closer to human, like the mask wasn't enough to hold it in. We walked, my footsteps echoing around us, the sound bouncing between bare walls. The deeper we went, the less I could hear the kitchen. The restaurant faded behind us. No sounds of forks, no voices, just dripping water and the shuffle of his costume feet. We stopped at another door, thick. No knob. It was padded like the kind you'd see in old movies, like something meant to muffle sound from inside. He pressed his hand against it. "It's more fun inside," he said. My stomach clenched. Everything in me screamed no. I shook my head. I don't want to." He didn't argue, didn't say a word, just turned and walked back down the hallway, his form shrinking with every flickering light he passed until he was gone, swallowed by the dark. I stood frozen for a second, then ran. I ran faster than I ever had, my flip-flops slapping the floor, shoulders banging into the walls, dodging leaking pipes and shadows that shifted when I didn't. When I finally burst back into the dining area, I nearly crashed into a waitress. Mom looked up, startled. "What? What is it? Where have you been?" I couldn't talk. I just pointed back toward the hallway. It was empty. No man, no door, no mascot. That afternoon, Mom asked to speak to the manager. Big bald guy, thick mustache, red face from working near heat all day. His name tag read Clint. I told him everything. He didn't laugh. He didn't say I was lying. He just squinted, like something in the story hit a nerve. He walked over to the back area, flicked a switch for the lights, tapped the wall where I swore the door had been, and said loudly, "Anybody there?" Nothing. Just silence and humming appliances. He came back looking uncomfortable, mumbled something about it being a weird building layout, then offered me a free chocolate chip waffle. I didn't want it. My appetite was gone. My hands wouldn't stop shaking under the table. Mom didn't press me. She paid quickly, face pale and tight, and we got back on the road. She didn't say a word for miles. I sat in the back seat, legs pulled to my chest, staring out the window at the empty fields rolling past. Later, when the sky darkened and the twins finally fell asleep, I asked her, "Did you see him?" She didn't answer at first. Then she said, soft but firm, "No. There was no one in a costume, baby." "But I saw his eyes," I whispered. "They were dark. They didn't blink." She reached back and touched my shoulder, gentle and unsure. But she didn't look at me. She didn't say anything else. When we got home, I went online. I messaged Waffle House Corporate. I asked about the mascot, the secret kitchen, the hallway. They wrote back. No such thing, they said. No mascot, no extra kitchen, no door like that in any of their restaurants. My skin went cold. If that wasn't part of the restaurant, what was it? That night, I lay in bed, eyes wide, staring at the ceiling. Every time I blinked, I saw the hallway again. The blinking lights, the damp floor, the sound of my own breathing too loud in my ears. I kept wondering how close I had come to opening that last door. What would have happened if I stepped inside? Months later, we ended up back at that same Waffle House. Road trip again, same sign, same parking lot. I asked Mom if we could sit at the counter this time, right in the open, by the window. She didn't question it. She just nodded. The place was loud with lunchtime chatter. Plates clattered, a waitress laughed, and a slow country song played faintly from the jukebox. My sisters were in a booth, elbow to elbow, coloring the numbered kids' menus. Everything seemed normal, but I couldn't relax. Every few minutes I'd glance around, waiting, listening. Clint was still there. He came over, smiled like he didn't recognize me, and asked if I wanted cream in my coffee. I just nodded. Halfway through lunch, I heard something, a rattle. I turned. The coat rack by the front door shook, but no one had touched it. No coats, no wind, just the bare metal frame quivering like someone had brushed past it. My breath caught. I stared for a long time, pulse thudding in my ears. Then it stopped, and everything went on like normal. My sisters were laughing at something, probably the crayons. They always found ways to crack each other up, even with nothing. Mom leaned over the table, phone in hand. "Sweetheart, smile for me." "Just one," she said, tilting her phone for the right angle. I managed a weak smile. It was more instinct than joy. She didn't seem to notice. I handed the phone back and turned away as she tried again, this time framing all three of us. 3 weeks later, I brought it up again. We were passing through Birmingham, and I convinced Mom to stop at the same Waffle House. The food hadn't changed, and neither had the smell. Eggs, grease, and something just beneath it like bleach that never fully faded. Clint, the manager, was still there. His name tag was more scratched up, but he looked exactly the same. Bald head, tired eyes. "Hey," I asked, catching him near the counter. "What's that hallway in the back, the one by the freezers?" He blinked at me, took a second too long to respond. "Oh, that?" he said with a forced chuckle. That's just a service corridor. Plumbing, HVAC stuff. Not for customers. Probably should put up a sign or something. I nodded, pretending that answer was good enough. But it wasn't. He gave me a smile. Plastic, hollow. The kind people wear when they don't want to keep talking. That night, alone in my room, I opened my laptop and Googled everything I could. Service corridors, hidden restaurant doors, secret kitchens. I found articles about old buildings, blocked-off zones, health code violations, even ghost stories about staff-only areas. But nothing mentioned tapping on a door to open it. Nothing about padded walls or silent flickering halls behind griddles and fryers. And no one ever mentioned a man in a waffle costume leading children away from their families. I thought back to those tokens. I remembered him handing them to me, yellow plastic with fake arcade logos. But when I checked my backpack later, they weren't there. Maybe they never were. Maybe I just imagined them. But if that were true, why did the memory still sit so heavy in my chest? Years passed. I moved away from Birmingham, finished high school, and clawed my way up to decent grades. I started studying architecture. Maybe that was my way of trying to make sense of spaces, of trying to design buildings where the walls didn't bend around secrets, where hallways didn't vanish behind flickering lights. Even now, whenever I eat out, I always pick the seat facing the front door. I want to see everything. I avoid corners. I never sit near back hallways I didn't walk through myself. And I never go looking. Still, every year, on the anniversary of that day, I dream about the hallway. It's always the same. The Waffle House is quiet. Half the booths are empty. I walk between them, the linoleum squeaking beneath my shoes. Then I see him, the mascot, slipping through the kitchen unnoticed, the edge of his costume brushing the swinging door. No one reacts. No one even looks up. I follow him, and then the hallway's there, the unfinished one. Lights flickering above, their hum too loud. The padded door waiting at the end, like it's been waiting all year. Sometimes in the dream, I open it. Sometimes I sit in a chair he left behind, its vinyl cracked and cold. I tilt my head just like he did. I reach down and pick up a handful of arcade tickets spilling endlessly from under the chair. They unravel in my hands, changing, turning into stacks of pancakes, then into waffle patterns, then into eyes. Row after row of eyes, staring right back at me. Then I wake up. I'm 24 now. I've traveled a lot for work. I've eaten in dozens of diners, walked down narrow hallways with flickering lights and humming fridges. One breakfast place I worked at had an old corridor behind the restrooms. My coworkers called it the tunnel. It led to nothing. They used it to sneak smokes. I never stepped inside. Sometimes when I drive through Birmingham, I take the long way just to pass by that Waffle House. It still looks the same. Golden light spilling out onto cracked pavement, windows fogged from fryer steam, families laughing inside, tired truckers slumped over their mugs. Clint might still be there. I think about walking in, about asking him if they ever remodeled, about whether the hallway is still there. But I don't, because deep down I don't want to know. I wonder sometimes, who was that man? Was he even a man? Did he really wear a costume? Or was that just the only way my 7-year-old brain could explain what I saw? I remember those eyes behind the mesh, unblinking, dark, patient. Too still to belong to anyone ordinary. But here's what I do know. Kitchens have secrets. Some hallways don't lead where they should. Some doors, especially the ones without signs, aren't meant to be opened. And even in places that feel familiar, where the syrup is warm and the coffee is bottomless, there are paths meant to stay hidden. Because the scariest part isn't just what's behind the door, it's what might be waiting for you, watching, quiet, hoping you open it.